lot of times we have that negative feeling and that cynicism because we're inside ourselves. We're feeling the ego, or we're feeling whatever it is that is causing us to feel that negativity. But we're not externally focused on how we can somehow solve these problems or give. The way to solve negativity is to serve other people, is to serve it without expecting anything in return. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flow Over Fear and Three Things. And today I want to talk about some ideas on how to foster a positive attitude. Now, this has been coming up a little bit more and more for me today, recently, because I've been reading a new book that is just amazing. It's not a new book. I'm sorry. This book is at least 3 decades old, but it is so powerful. But it's one that I've heard from many other achievers. It's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and I've heard this on a lot of different podcasts, like Tim Ferriss and many others that have presented this and talked about it. And I was even talking to some other GoBundance guys about The Artist's Way, and it's a neat book. And part of the reason I like it is because it's framed out like a 12-step program. And so, coming as an alcoholic, I tend to be drawn to 12-step programs, and this is ultimately for the recovering creative, finding a spiritual path to higher creativity. And I always avoided reading this book because I was thinking, well, it's for painters or career musicians or things like that, not for people like me who are running a business or doing a podcast, things like that. But the truth is that, when I heard about how people are applying this to their lives, it's really a book about opening up. And it is a personal development book that helps us to open up, using our creativity as a tool to do just that. And, one of the things that has been opening up for me is how to foster positive attitude and how to bring that about. Because one of the problems is that as human beings, we have a negativity bias. As human beings, we are drawn more closely or more intently to the negative, or we tend to magnify negative things in our minds and minimize the positive. This is why things like the news are so and politics and advertising are so focused on negativity. I recently interviewed a person named Tim Ash, whose episode is coming out soon, who talked about this negativity bias. And it got me thinking a lot about it, because that negativity bias, can be self-fulfilling. When evolutionarily speaking, we had this bias as something of a defense mechanism to make sure that we were protected, and incited fear or it incited danger. And so we assumed the worst so that we could stay safe, so to speak. But in today's world, it even though it serves us in maybe those rare occasions, more often than not, it's not serving us anymore to that degree. Because we're seeing it more often. We're being overstimulated by it. We're seeing it in the news. We're seeing it in our political campaigns. We're reading about it, and worse than that, we're craving it because we have a bias toward it as human beings. We're looking for it. When we look at the ideas on whether or not we should trust somebody or not, our default is to the side of cynicism, where we just feel like people might not be, out for the best interest of the world as a whole. And the pain that comes from that is that we miss the opportunity to experience joy because we're so immersed in this negativity. And we also miss opportunities for self-improvement. We just don't see them because we don't open ourselves up for luck. If we're constantly looking out for the worst possible occurrences or the negativity, we're not looking at the opportunity for positive to occur, for that luck to occur. It just doesn't happen. So we miss the opportunities. It's kind of like when we hear in the mainstream, we miss every opportunity that we don't take. Well, we're not taking opportunities because we're so focused on the negative. So it is up to us, each of us, to foster that positive attitude. And this isn't just about thinking positive and blah, 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 think positive and I'm going to motivate you and blah, blah, blah. That lasts a minute. This is about doing the work to make sure that you're fostering that positive attitude. Because quite frankly, it's easy to maintain the negative attitude. That's the default. It's easy to be a cynic in this world and say that everybody's out for themselves or the worst case scenario is always going to happen and blah, blah, blah. Because the reason that, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, the reason it's easy to be a cynic, the reason it's lazy to be a cynic is because either you're right and you get to feel good about yourself for being right, even though the result is pretty shitty, or you're wrong and you're pleasantly surprised. So congratulations, you get to win both times. But over the long term, that kind of life is not rewarding. That kind of life of living in that negativity means out that you're missing on all of those opportunities to experience joy, to double down on the positivity, even if it doesn't happen, because those few moments where it does, where you're right and that thing works out or whatever it may be, as long as you're consistent and persistent with it, it's going to work out and you're going to find fulfillment on the other side of it. So that's how that's why we want to foster a positive attitude. Not because we just, we want to impress our bosses or we want to, blah, blah, blah. It's because it's going to lead to a better life. And this doesn't mean faking it till you make it and that bullshit. Faking it till you make it has its place, like, in recovery centers when you're feeling absolutely hopeless. But in day to day, when you're just feeling those twinges of negativity, no, it requires that you focus intently on what is actually and legitimately positive. And there are things about that in this world that are, even if you think that they're not. Too obsessed with the negative, you've got to focus on the positive. You've got to force it because your mind's going to default. So force your mind to think of what is actually positive. And there are things. This is where things like The Artist's Way, which is a great book, talks a lot about these things in some of the steps it talks through. And also the 5-minute journal is really powerful for this because it tells you right in the early morning what to look at, in terms of gratitude. Think of what is making you grateful. It could just be a small thing. But here are the 3 things I want to talk about today to help you to foster that positive attitude. And the first one is simple and life-changing. And this is, implementing this has absolutely changed my life for the better. This has been a powerful tool to help me out. And it's practicing gratitude first thing in the morning, very first thing in the morning. If you've listened to the show enough times, you know that I experience significant morning anxiety a lot of times. I wake up and my default is I feel anxious. I do. And that's just kind of how it feels when I wake up because there's, a lot going on for me. Would that happen if I really, really, took the time, stepped away from work, lived a Zen lifestyle and did all of that? Of course, maybe it would minimize, but as it is now, taking care of a family, doing a lot of the living of an actual human being life, I experience anxiety, and I'd imagine some of you do too. And the way that I treat that, I have to take my medicine in the morning. And that requires that I practice the gratitude every day. And by the way, this is good medicine. This tastes good. It's the delicious cherry flavored, Flintstones vitamin style, not the gross NyQuil flavor. Not that I'm putting down or advertising for either of those two companies. But it requires that the first thing in the morning, that beautiful, wonderful tasting chocolate medicine that we want to take is gratitude. 5 minutes in the 5-minute journal is a great way to do this, because the very first 3 questions are on that. When you wake up and you open that book are, what am I grateful for today? 3 things. And they don't have to be giant life-changing things. I'm grateful that I'm a millionaire. I'm grateful that I have a Lamborghini. I'm grateful that I have a trophy something or another. No, they can be small. I mean, they can be those things if you have a Lamborghini. I mean, sure, put it on there. But here's the other part of it is whatever you put on there. It's not just about writing it down and moving on, because I found that I did that for months and I was wondering, like, why the hell isn't this working? Why aren't I feeling more grateful? Why aren't I feeling more gratitude when I'm writing down all these things I'm grateful for? It's because I wasn't really internalizing them. I wasn't bringing them in and holding them in my heart. I was just writing them on the page. And that's fine when you want to do a brain dump and take all of the stuff in your head and throw it out onto a page. But when you're writing down gratitude, you want to sit with it for just a moment. And this is important. I actually learned this concept from my coach, Kirk Wyman, who was a guest on the show in the first 100 episodes. And he is the coach. He is the lead president of Icon Coaching, and he's my coach. And he was talking about how to foster gratitude and what gratitude is. And this was a really, really like game-changing lesson for me that is super, super simple. He said that when you're thinking about gratitude, it's not just about thinking about it. You have to sit with it for 15 to 20 seconds. He too, Kirk was also talking about that negativity bias that we experience. That, because we have that negativity bias, we're essentially stacking all of these negative thoughts, and all of these negative thoughts, and that becomes our default. And in order to shift that, in order to switch flip the switch, or switch the flip, we have to sit with the positive more, so that we make those experiences more than the negative. And so that requires something really, really simple. When you think about those 3 moments of gratitude, those 3 points of gratitude, really think about it. Write it down, and then close your eyes and think about it with a smile on your face for 15 to 20 seconds. That's all it takes. This was a game changer for me. So like thinking about something like, you know what? I woke up, I'm looking out the window today, and it is a beautiful day. I write that down. Usually I would just go right past it. But this day, I actually thought about it. I thought about the beautiful day. I immersed myself in the beauty of the sunshine shining in my face. I thought about, how graceful this is that, I didn't have to buy this. That this was just given to us by the universe, by God, by whomever, that this sunshine, that this light breeze is so beautiful. There we are, 15, 20 seconds. Perfect. Thought about it. Right, now on to the next one. What is the next piece of gratitude that I had for that day? Oh, I'm grateful that I get to meet with my good friend today for coffee or a Zoom meeting or what have you. And I sit with that for a moment. Remember that last time I met with this person? Remember how much fun we have? Remember when I laughed? Remember this, that, and the other thing? In 20 seconds. And then that 3 times. That is enough to change your mood into the positive. And practicing that enough every single day is going to shift your mind into a positive mindset. Now, is it going to make you superhuman and give you this incredible Iron Man body armor that is going to protect you from all of the shitstorm that's going to face you that day? No, it's not. You're still going to be hit by that shitstorm or whatever it is. But it trains your mind to think that way. It trains your mind to default that way and better deal with those shitstorms. The second thing that can foster a positive attitude, because that is the part where you're giving to yourself. You're creating that in yourself internally. And the second thing that can help you foster a positive attitude is to give, to get out of yourself. A lot of times we have that negative feeling and that cynicism because we're inside ourselves. We're feeling the ego, or we're feeling feeling whatever it is that is causing us to feel that negativity, but we're not externally focused on how we can somehow solve these problems or give. The way to solve negativity is to serve other people, is to serve it without expecting anything in return. And it may sound a little hippy dippy here, and I understand, but this is scientifically backed, that when you start giving of yourself and serving in a way that is empowering to you, you genuinely just get happier. You become a more joyous person. It doesn't have to be a financial give. It can be a giving of your time. It can be a giving of in fact, it's probably better that you're giving of your time. It could be a connection you can make from someone to someone else, someone that needs help, somebody that needs a kind ear. It could be just reaching out to a friend via text message or a phone call. You remember those, like where you could actually like get on the phone and talk with someone? Oh, I know, weird, isn't that right, Gen Y? But anyway, this is. But if you text someone and just say, "Hey, look, I know you were. I just knew you were looking for support today. I wanted to reach out and let you know I love you." Those kinds of things are how we can give, how we can serve. If you're having a bad attitude or a negative attitude, that can help you to get out of it. And then the final piece of the puzzle that I want to talk about, then this is certainly not the last thing that can foster a positive attitude, but it is the third thing I want to talk about today. And that is to avoid the news and negative media. I know I am so ill-informed, and I am so, so anti, counterculture in terms of wanting to avoid being informed. Isn't that what smart people do? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm ill-informed by not watching CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or whatever, or any of those things, or reading the national media. And this is not in any way getting political. This is just simply stating that by not watching the news, by not absorbing that content, I have not been critically less informed than I need to be in what's going on in the world. I am not walking around drooling out of my mouth and with my hair all shabby, wondering why everybody is wearing pants and why we can't just wander the streets in our underwear. No, that's not the case. I am learning just as much as I need to by having the conversations that are empowering, that are lifting me up, that are teaching about how to exist as a person in the community. These are all skills that we all know well. And when something happens in our world that we need to know about it, trust me, there are so many channels. We will find out about it. If our world is burning down, we will find out about it. We don't need to know what the Kardashians have been doing today to know what is going on, to stay informed. We don't even know from a political standpoint. We don't need to know all that necessarily. And I understand where this can touch a nerve, and people might say, but I want to make sure that I can argue with the best of them and have keen debates. Okay. I want to make sure that I vote for the right person. Okay. Fair point. Very fair point. And I don't mean to debate this and get impassioned about it, but we can learn about a lot of that stuff. We can learn about the candidates we want to learn about. We can get more objective information by not absorbing that content 24/7 or at all. And we can live a much more joyous life. We really can. Not immersing in that negativity of the news is helpful, especially for people that are experiencing a higher level of anxiety in their lives, myself included. It's help, and people often wonder, well, geez, how do you have time to do all the things that you do, to do triathlon, to do this podcast, to run a business, to do all that stuff? Well, I mean, because I don't spend hours watching the news or talking about it. I spend time doing life, not watching it. So that's one of the key areas that can help us foster a positive attitude, is to let go of our obsession or need to watch the news or other negative form media that is fueling that content, because it is the very reason that they are fueling that content. They know what sells. And because of our negativity bias, that negative news sells, and it puts us in a negative mood. It pins us against each other. And you can have better conversations and learn a lot more talking one-on-one with an individual that you might not share an opinion with, the same opinion with, but you can still learn a lot from it. And a little bonus on here, that of course, I did learn from The Artist's Way, just to kind of tie it back to this, is I'm going to give a fourth thing that you can use to foster a positive attitude. And this is something that I've been implementing for the last few weeks, and it's been really helpful in my life. And it's called the morning pages. I've mentioned, and I mentioned early in this episode, that that how you start your morning, starting your morning with gratitude is key to how you're setting your intentions for the day and how you're setting your mood for the day. The morning pages are a very, very simple concept. It's really just taking whatever's in your brain in the morning and dumping it onto a page for 3 pages, 3 full, 8 by 11 pages, college rule, whatever. But write that out, and you'll find that over time, it just opens up your creativity. It helps you to create some answers. And when you do that with positivity, when you write out positive things, and I'm not going to say that you shouldn't write out the negative things, because this is a way of getting all of that out of your head and onto a paper. So when you get it out of your head, you clear the way for actual positivity to enter into. But I would encourage you, at least in that very last page, start brain dumping positivity, brain dump ideas, brain dump, positive things, gratitude, anything that you can, of just noting what that is, so that you're dumping out all of that negativity and you're putting in there some positive stuff. That's the way you foster a positive attitude. And if you do some of these things, if you're able to not just practice that gratitude, 3 elements of gratitude first thing in the day, but actually immerse yourself in it and sit with it for 15 to 20 seconds. If you give of yourselves, so get out of thinking about yourself and start to give and serve in the world. And if you avoid the news and negative media, and you practice the art of morning pages with positivity in that last page, you will start to foster a more positive attitude. You will not end the negativity that exists in your life and that tries to flood its way in, but you yourself will start to take responsibility for your own attitude, and you can make it a positive one. And that can change the world. That can change your world by fostering a positive attitude. So thank you for joining me today. We'll catch you next time. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.